everybody. Welcome, NorCal Sports Network. Game 2 of the Giants-Dodgers goes to the Dodgers, as I called last night. I think it's going to be a sweep, guys, but what do you know? We got Ned Colletti joining us live from Southern California. Are you in Southern Cal now, Ned?
Yes, I am. Yes,
okay,
I am.
Great. And Larry Kruger will be joining us here shortly, I believe. There he is, popping in right now. There he is, the great one, Larry Kruger. And welcome, everybody, as tonight, Logan Webb, he's pitched really one good game, if you think about it, since the season started in spring. He had a rough spring, pitched well opening day, and then tonight he didn't even get through the fourth inning as he threw 97 pitches, and the Dodgers came out hitting him hard, which kind of, Freeman and Betts have pretty good ownage on Logan Webb, and you kind of saw this coming. But your thoughts, guys? Welcome, everybody.
Well, I first of all, we can blame Logan Webb or we can credit LA, right? That's it's always one or the other. I think this is one of the best 1-2-3s I've ever seen. I've been watching the game for 40 years. Betts, Ohtani, Freeman in game one. Game one of the series, those guys went 6 of 11, 3 RBIs, 6 runs scored, and then Betts right now is just. Ohtani's going to heat up, but Freeman and Betts are just ridiculously locked in, and good luck. To me, I'm just more impressed by what LA has at the top of their lineup with Betts and Ohtani and Freeman than ripping Logan Webb. LA came out with a purpose in the first. Their purpose was to see a ton of pitches. They saw 29 of them, and it really set up the game the rest of the night.
They've been doing that for a long time. The names may change at the top, but they've been doing that for a while. They run that first inning. They are patient. They make guys pitch. Every team, even the Dodgers, you get to the middle innings of a game and you got to pull your starter out. You're hitting really the softest part of a rotation or a part of a staff. And so they work to that end. They want to get in that bullpen in the fourth or the fifth and make whatever team they're playing use their 12th, 13th pitcher. And by the time that pitcher's out of there, there's another 3 or 4 runs up on the board. But, they pay these guys well, and they're getting a lot of production of them. The 4-hitter, Will Smith, he's over 400, just signed for $140 million. So you got about $1.3 billion or 4 wrapped up in the top 4. So you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
That top 1 through 6 of the Dodgers is just, gosh, Dan, you talked about it yesterday. It's 1927 Murderer's Row. It's got to be tough for a starter to try to navigate, not just once, or even twice. It's just, they're so deep, and it's tough. It's tough. I'll give credit to Landon Roop. The guy was able to navigate through some murky waters there. He looked pretty good. That curveball is something else, but yeah, Logan Webb, they were, Larry, you hit on it. They were taking pitches, and then when they got the pitch they wanted, they capitalized, and we saw it.
Yeah, I've watched Webb enough to know that I think the thing you have to do is lay off the changeup a lot, and when it's the off-speed stuff, just wait for the straighter stuff coming across the plate, and because he throws most of those things down below the strike zone, and the Dodgers know that, and they do this. They scout. They have great advanced scouting because they did this to Anthony DeSclafani a couple years ago in 21. They put up like 10 runs on him in the first inning because they watched him and they saw his tendencies and his patterns. I think this Dodger team, when I look at it, it seems different to me this year. Almost like it reminds me of the 2016 Warriors that had Kevin Durant, that just kind of knew they're there just to win a title. And I don't see this team messing around this year. If they don't make it this year, anything can happen, injuries, all that kind of stuff. But this team has a focus. And I think Ohtani helps bring that. He brings this kind of just. He's like Curry in a way. He's quiet, but he's a quiet assassin. This guy means business. You can tell. He's not there to, he's gonna have a good time, but he's there to, between the lines, these guys are just coming out and they're just taking no prisoners. I don't see anybody but maybe the Braves touching this team.
The one thing that jumped out to me about Logan Webb is his focus tonight. I mean, Freddie Freeman stole second base standing up in this game. And maybe that's just a brief loss of focus, but I thought that was kind of an odd thing you don't normally see. And then, LA went with the bullpen game, and I don't know what their record is in bullpen games, but I think it's pretty good. And they not only did they get one inning out of, they got one inning out of Brazier, but then they went to their starter, Yarborough. And even though he gave up 7 hits and 4 runs, I mean, he's a different look. He's a dramatically different look. He's a lefty and it's a different looking lefty. I was really impressed by Grove with that slider, and Phillips at the end is just truly nasty. So, I mean, LA's going to, it's a weird, Ned, I was thinking about different things we could talk about on this show. One of the things that really jumped out, guys, was just, LA wins 100 games every year, and yet they're getting flushed in the playoffs more times than not. And I wonder what that feeling is like as you're just rampaging through the league, knowing that you're ultimately going to be judged on, do you get out of the, division round or whatever in the first round. And, I don't know. I don't know what the key is. I don't know. Ned, if you were an executive on the Dodgers right now, a team that annually wins, 100 plus, but also has gotten beat in the first round, what is the message that so you don't put too much pressure on that first round, so that you don't, kind of miss the forest through the trees, so to speak? What would you say to your team if they were this team with all this talent, but they keep kind of falling apart in the first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, they've lost their last 6 playoff games. 3 to San Diego after winning game 1 2 years ago, and last year swept by Arizona without leading for an inning. It's a tough dynamic, because the thing that I always wonder about with this team is when you play that long, and you may have, I've seen seasons where they had 10 games that they had a really competitive team playing against them. Most of the teams that they play against can't compete. Most of the teams that, and to your point, Larry, at the outset of the show, instead of getting on Logan Webb, let's call it like it is. And with the Dodgers, how good they are. So they play 6 months, and I don't know if they know how good they need to be to win it. I think you can get a little bit lulled into a certain level of play, because that's what your expectation is. I don't know, except for Atlanta, who's going to challenge them this year in a series. Maybe Philly. I don't know if any NL West team is going to challenge them. Maybe Arizona a little bit. I'm not big on San Diego. Giants are, trying to be a 500 club, or maybe a touch better. Central, I don't know anybody there that's going to give them a rough ride. Maybe Cincinnati in their home ballpark. So as you add it all up, American League, you got Baltimore, you got a few teams. So maybe more than 10. But it's not 30. It's not like a sixth of the season. It's not going to be that. So as I look at it, I've always, when I was doing TV, I would look forward to 3 good starting pitchers coming in to face the team, or them going on the road and having to face 3 guys who can pitch. Because when you get to October, by and large, that's what you're seeing. And if you're not ready for that, if you've lowered your game to the competition, to just beat the competition, when the lights get hot, almost everybody can do a little bit more than they've been doing earlier.
Yeah, it's I think you nailed it, Ned, with the teams. I do think the West is the Dodgers, and they'll win it by 10 plus. And
They may win it by more than that.
yeah. I mean, they could
They may have
win it
by Labor Day.
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
they seriously could.
Yeah.
They seriously could. They will. This is a historic team, and the thing about them is whatever they need at the deadline, they'll just go get. So,
Well, no, they're going to get Walker Buehler back. I mean, he may be as good as anybody they got out there.
right.
Well,
Yeah,
that was my question. Like, who would start in the playoffs? Would it be if you're game one, you got Glasnow, you go Bueller, you go Yamamoto, there's Kershaw,
See?
Paxton. What that to me, it's like if there's one thing, if I ran that show in LA, I'd be like, man, I want to find one just money starting pitcher. Now I know Yamamoto's awesome looking. I wanted him bad on the Giants. And Glasnow, if you catch him on the right day, looks as good, as dominant as almost any pitcher that ever, that's going in the league right now. He just can't put it together over long periods of time. But I'd want that one, hired gun, whatever you want to call, whatever you want to, the guy who, he may not be one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball, but in October, he absolutely always is one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball. And I'd want to find that one guy if I was LA.
Well, that one guy is sitting there in Walker Buehler.
yeah.
We've forgotten a little bit about his resume, but in the last decade or so, I don't know that there's anybody pitching that I would take ahead of Walker Buehler. The kid is fierce.
He's a competitor, fiery
He's got
competitor,
great
isn't he?
stuff. The bigger the game, the better he is. Now he's coming back from a second Tommy John. And then if you remember last year in September, they talked about him coming back.
Mhm.
That may have just been a bluff because he's not ready quite yet. But see, in this, that's the guy for me. But the other ones are exceptional just as well. Who's got three to match up to that? Going back to one other thing from the first couple of comments we've had, what they do better than anybody is exert patience because they know they can. They know they can wait on Walker Buehler. It's not like they got to rush him back. They know they can wait on Clayton. They can wait. They can wait on young players. They can wait on developing people. They can wait longer than anybody because they're better than everybody. So they are, I don't know if I've ever seen them in a rush to bring somebody back or in a rush to make a decision on a young player. I think their patience and their ability to wait things out is a huge asset for them. And Bobby Miller, yes. Bobby Miller is not there quite yet, but he's got all the characteristics of a guy that could do it. We'll have to put him behind everybody else right now. But the kid's strong. Good stuff, but also strong character.
Ned, are the Dodgers just being cautious and slow playing Walker Buehler, or did he have any kind of a setback? And
I don't know that he's had a setback, but they don't have a rush. What would their rush be? If it's going to take him, he made a start the other night. I think he's got 3 more to go. What's the hurry?
Yeah, I mean, really,
who's going to challenge?
Yeah, no, you might as well. Plus,
yeah.
You might as well
play the long game.
Play the long game and have more innings.
The competition, as I said earlier.
Yeah, have more innings to go when they really need them.
Well, Dan, I heard an interesting stat on KNBR. The first 8 games, the Dodgers have scored 5 runs or more. First time this has been done in 20 years. So you're taking all the pressure off the pitching staff when you score 5 runs. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, what did I say last night? I said the Giants to win tonight, even with Webb going, they're going to have to score at least 5 because the Dodgers are going to score their runs.
Yep.
And the Giants and tomorrow they're facing Glasnow. They're missing Yamamoto because I think the Dodgers are doing it wise. Yamamoto's used to pitching on 5 full days rest instead of or 6. Yep. He pitches every 6th day.
We're going to be able to use him appropriately too.
Yeah, and so it's a juggernaut that, I mean, that lineup with just, I mean, you're down the first inning almost immediately before you take your
They
seat.
strike early.
Yeah.
I mean, look
Yeah,
at the top of the
right
lineup.
away.
Look at the top of that lineup. Betts, Ohtani, Freeman. I mean, that's an amazing 1-2-3. Freeman, had a huge night tonight. He's rocketing shots all over the place. Ohtani hasn't even really gotten it rolling yet. Wait until he gets it rolling. On the Giant note, though, man, it was nice to see Landon Roop tonight.
Mhm.
Ned, I don't know what you thought of him, but man, I mean, obviously, Bo Mel came out and yanked him against Ohtani after he struck out the previous hitter. And I'm sitting there going, oh, man, I would love to have seen him against Ohtani. Of course, it was the lefty-lefty deal, and Ohtani grounded out on the next pitch, and Bo Mel showed what he knew there. But, man, Landon Roop, this guy, 94, 95, 2 innings, struck out 4. I mean, he's got one of the tightest curveballs. I mean, that's a phenomenal curveball. He struck out Betts. I mean, we're talking about the best player in the game right now. Mookie Betts has got a 600 on base or whatever, and he just made him look foolish on that last one where he just buckled it right at the hands, and Betts like almost tipped his cap and just walked back to the dugout. That Roop looks special. He looks really nice.
I think if you could be doing magic act and take the Dodgers out of the West and put one of the Central teams in the West, I don't think the Giants are that far off from having a shot to play meaningful games into the month of September. I just think the Dodgers shift everything with everybody.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know that San Diego's better than San Francisco.
Yeah, it's
Arizona's coming off their big year. Can they match that?
Mhm.
Giants have done some good things the last month before the season.
Yeah, Farhan had a really good offseason. He did. I mean, he put together, a team that I think it still lacks a little bit in the middle of the bullpen, and I think it lacks another bat, a big bat. But the bullpen should straighten itself out as Cobb and Snell come in. It could push Jordan Hicks to the bullpen. When you get Robbie Ray the second half, it could create a much stronger bullpen by moving Keaton Wynn to the bullpen, and then you have because their problem is they've pitched 3 or 4 guys that have made their debuts in the first 5 games. You had Miller, Kaiwei Tang, and Avila all pitch their first 3 major league appearances, and they did okay a little bit. Some of them first outing okay, but then they kind of showed their lack of experience. And you're going to need some guys that can lock it down, because if they go, Giants have they're using their pen quite a bit in the first 6 games, and you don't want to get too behind the 8 ball by burning out your pitching staff. So, but I overall, it's going to be an interesting year because, baseball's a long season, 162. You rarely say, we're already crowning the Dodgers, which anything can happen, but you rarely look at a team this early and say, the division should be theirs in a double digit games, but, and everybody else is playing for, it should be the Braves and the Dodgers locking up 2 spots. So you got the rest of the league playing for 4 spots. And Phillies probably should be just about an automatic. So now you're down to 3 teams, and one of them is going to come from the Central. And that's an interesting division to me this year, because when I did my projections, I like Cincinnati in that division. And I said, I think Pittsburgh's going to be an up and coming team. And they're starting to show it with some of their guys that they've added, and O'Neal Cruz is back and healthy. That should be a fun division to watch.
They're getting better. You got a new catcher too.
Yeah, Joey Bart.
Joey Bart shipped out. Sabe's last number 1 pick, shown the door. what do you guys think about as far as April? Because I mean, this is a grind sport. People. I heard somebody say that Dave Rigetti used to say something like, "Hey, I think it was Flan on the broadcast yesterday on the post game say that he kind of liked it once everybody kind of settled in, once you were into kind of your rhythm, or that Sabe said that to him. As far as hot starts, Yankees are 5-1, Detroit's 4-0, Pittsburgh's 5-0, Milwaukee's 4-0. And then there's some teams that are off to really cold starts. White Sox are 1-4. Houston's got the Ronel Blanco no hitter. Otherwise, they're 0-5. Mets are 0-4. Miami's 0-6. Colorado's 1-5. Ned and guys, what do you guys think as far as when do you you can't win the division in April, but man, you sure as hell can lose it if you just fall out of it. Is there any year, Ned, that you can think of where you thought, man, I can't believe this slow start. I can't believe we're off to this kind of a start.
Yeah, I've been through a few of those, but I would make a habit of, when we get to May, we'll see where we're at. We'll see how we settled in, as you talk about Rags' comment. I think you have to let that happen. Guys get ready at a different pace. Some guys are habitually slow starters, and I think you've got to let it play out a little bit. Yeah, you can't fall 8 or 10 back, although I've been on teams that have and still won, because it is that long a season. But I think you gotta let it go for a little while. Otherwise, you start making decisions that you wish you didn't make, because it is a game. It's a long, long road. And if you make a decision based on a week or two, you're probably going to get burnt with that call. But I would wait. I would always wait. And you learn every day. You pick up information every day. But I got to let them go 25 games or so before I know really what we've got. To some extent, it's like the first crossroads for me. There'll be another 50 between then and the end, but that's like the first one that tells me kind of where we're at.
It's also weird watching. Every time you watch these games from LA, I always notice Mary Hart sitting behind home plate.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting there, and she's married to some Hollywood bigwig, and I forget his name. But I remember going to Dodger Stadium years ago, and I'm up in the press box, and Squiggy from Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley was a big Dodger something. I don't know. He was in the press box. What was it like being the GM down there? I mean, it wasn't like you were the GM in the 60s with Sinatra and, all these, but I mean, there were plenty of stars from Magic on down there on a regular basis. Is it a different vibe when you've got kind of the Hollywood crew all sitting right there in the infield?
I think the whole environment is a different vibe. You're talking about typically 50,000 people, sometimes more than that. It's an event, and I think you would never be surprised by who you'd run into, so to speak. And I wasn't. I'm still not a real big Hollywood person, knowing people, knowing actors, musicians, things like that. I got a small group that I would recognize, but I was introduced to all kinds of people, and I said, "Oh, really? Hey, nice to meet you." I was. I never had the time to really get deeply involved in it, but I had an embarrassing situation a little bit, not at the time, with Will Ferrell. We played St. Louis in a LCS, a game 5 in 13 afternoon game. Flying to St. Louis after the game. I get down and I get into the elevator. It's just me, and the guard opens it up and he says, "I got somebody wants to ride down with you," and they're cool. I said, "That's fine." And it was Will Ferrell, except I didn't know it was Will Ferrell. I didn't. Candidly, my mistake. I didn't know Will Ferrell. And I get down to the dugout club to meet some friends and family. And the door opens, and I'm talking to Will the entire ride down. And they all go, "You were on the elevator with Will Ferrell." And I said, "Well, who's Will Ferrell?" And it didn't take me long to be embarrassed by that. But I didn't have the time nor the background to come into that type of situation and be taken by any of it. If I met people, that was cool. Met Al Pacino 3 or 4 times. I knew immediately. And a few other people, but I made my mistakes not knowing who people were. But it is a different vibe. There's nothing like it in baseball. There's no doubt.
Seriously.
Would New York be similar, or not?
Not
Quite?
really.
No.
Will, Larry, don't you have a Will Ferrell story too? You
I
met
do have
him?
a Will Ferrell story. I was doing a 9 a.m. show with Gary Radnich, and he had been on with Murph and Mac, and he was in the green room at KMBR, and he was facing the other way, and I walked into the green room, as I do, like about 8:30 or so, half hour before the show, and I didn't recognize him because he wasn't facing me, and I said, "Hey, what's going on, bro?" He's like, "Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, man. Hey, bro. Hey." He's like, starts kind of making fun of me, saying that, calling him bro. And then I'm like, who the hell's this intern in the freaking thing talking trash to me? So I go back there. I'm like, oh, you don't like being called bro? And he whips around, and it's Will Ferrell. And I'm like, literally, my wife and I, the 2 nights before, had watched Semi-Pro. And like when you watch a movie and the character's so damn good that you get enthralled by the character. Yep. I said to him, I go, Jackie Moon, it's Jackie Moon. And he goes into like a 3-minute back and forth, and now for your Flint Tropics, your power forward, you're and your owner. And he just starts going into it. And what a cool guy. What a cool down-to-earth guy. And we just started talking about some of his favorite movies. And I started talking to him about Semi-Pro and how much I enjoyed it. Just a real down-to-earth, regular guy. I mean, he's a real easy guy to talk to. Some of these Hollywood people have big egos. Will Ferrell's kind of like a man of the people.
I hope I get a chance to meet him again and apologize for my lack of, because he wanted to talk about the game. He said, this ride ain't going to be long enough. I got so many questions for you. And I said, hey, well, call my office sometime because, I got to get going here, pal. And I hope I get a chance to meet him sometime. And,
Larry, you got a question there from Chase Broberg.
Chase Broberg. Sounds like an interesting guy. Chase Broberg, who's been ripping me in the chat saying I don't know ball.
Oh, really? Okay.
Chase, I think I've forgotten more ball than you'll ever know. But my thoughts on Conforto and Jung Hoo Lee. I mean, Jung Hoo Lee has a presence about him for sure. I like the way he plays center field as far as he seems like he gets good jumps. I have not seen a lot of false steps. And he seems very confident. Now, he just won the MVP of his league. Let's see if he looks confident in 6 weeks. That would be my question. My whole question, and there's lots of people who are banging on me because Jung Hoo Lee had a good first week and I was skeptical. I'm only skeptical because they paid him $113 million, $19 million a year. The Giants and Farhan are giving Jung Hoo Lee what the Astros are paying Yordan Alvarez. So yeah, that is a lot. And the Giants are paying Jung Hoo Lee what the Diamondbacks are paying Corbin Carroll. So you know what? The expectations are that he's going to be really, really good. I'll say that his bat to ball skills really strong. He knows the zone. I mean, you can put it right off the corner and he doesn't flinch. He's got a great strike zone. I just don't know that he's going to hit, and I hope he does. To me, if you pay a guy that kind of cake, he's got to hit you 285, 290. I asked Marty what he thought he would hit. He said 255. If he hits 255, that's going to be a bad deal. But I also would say this, just the same way I wouldn't get super negative on a guy who struggled in the first week to 10 days. I wouldn't get super positive on a guy who kicked butt in the first 10 days because I've met all these advanced scouts and they're really, really, really good. And they pick up unbelievable little nuances in your game, and they find out what you don't like. And then 6 weeks in, guess what you're getting? A steady diet of what you don't like, night after night after night after night. So I'm impressed by Jung Hoo, but I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping it's for real. For Conforto, I really love the way the ball's coming off of Conforto's bat. He's had injuries. He's had injuries that have cost him an entire year. To me, if the Giants have, every team coming out of spring's got a route to 70 wins and a route to 90 wins. Not every team, but most teams. The Giants have a route to 90 wins too. And part of that route is Conforto's got to bounce back with a big year. When I'm saying big, I'm saying 270 plus with power, RBI potential, being healthy. But so far, so good. I love the way I love the way the ball looks coming off Conforto's bat right now. To me, he looks better so far this year than I saw him at any point last year. What do you guys think of Lee and Conforto?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I agree with your assessment of Conforto. I think I kind of expected him to have a better year just because he didn't have to spend the offseason rehabbing. Right. He was able to be healthy and
it's his first healthy year in a couple of years.
Yeah. So that makes a huge difference. When you're just rehabbing, you're not even working on your craft. You're just trying to get your, shoulder in so you can work on your craft. So I think the fact that he was healthy makes a huge difference. It's also a contract year. Those are always seem to get
pretty good incentive.
Yeah, always seem guys to produce. We're seeing Juan Soto get off to a great start. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, so the other thing with Jung Hoo Lee, I am impressed with his overall approach at the plate. He looks to me like he can make adjustments quickly. He did even tonight, He took I think he struck out once. I think it was his second strikeout of the season. He doesn't.
His second one, too. Yeah, he was caught looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Did he strike out twice tonight?
Yes.
Twice. Okay, yeah. So he struck out twice. That's right.
Struck out in the first, struck out in the seventh.
So he struck out three times, but in the ninth, he hit a sharp single to right. So I think he's a guy that is going to put the bat on the ball, and I think he can hit. I think if he hits anywhere north of 275 in his first year, that's incredible for, coming over to the big leagues.
Yeah.
But I think the future looks bright for him. I think the kid will figure it out. He's 25. I think he's got 300 plus potential in his game. So, and then we got a donation. I think this is on your channel, right, Larry? Is
that yours? I don't even know whose is whose.
Who's it? Which one?
This
Nick?
one up. Yeah. Is that coming from you, Larry, or it probably is?
You know what? I'm not really sure, but you know what?
We're running a simulcast here, guys. So.
We're running the simulcast, and we're going to do this a few times this year, and hopefully we'll be able to get Ned on as well and talk a lot of ball because the one thing I would love to do is help Danny build up his channel. I think Danny's got the best baseball channel there is as far as Giants baseball, and I would love to see it just dominate by the end of the summer. So if you're one of my thousands of subs over there and you haven't subbed to NorCal Sports Network, give Danny a follow. Him and Eric do outstanding Giant stuff, and not just Giant stuff, Niner stuff, Warrior stuff, other stuff, but they're going to do a lot of Giant stuff this year. And I'd love for everybody who subs to my channel to sub to theirs, and let's help get Danny to 20,000 subs and get this thing really cooking for Danny.
There you go.
You've been doing this for a while. How many shows have you done, Dan?
Gosh, we've done every post game last year, and we just did everything off season. Kind of started up in right after,
we're approaching 400.
400 shows.
Eric's for you, Danny.
Yeah. Wow.
Just the fact that you did every game last year, you should get like a quad, a candlestick or something. I mean,
yeah, one of those.
Jesus, you did
How about that stuff?
I did every post game for the 2022 Giants. It's like,
man, last year was hard, but it turned into some comedy, And I think I ended up on I think I ended up on baseball's no flight list for media credentials. But
Kenny, I'll come on with you once every 7 to 10 days if you want.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd love it.
Draw you some folks.
Yeah, absolutely,
That'd be
Ned.
great.
One thing that I thought was interesting today that I read online, I'm not sure if it was ESPN or where, but maybe it was Bleacher Report. They had an article about Major League Baseball trade chips. And I was just looking at the list and going, who on this list could fit the Giants? The names I came up with were Dylan Carlson, under club control with the Cardinals through 2026. If they need an outfielder, he would be nice. He's an Elk Grove kid. Mark Canna, just from the connection with Melvin. And also he went to Bellarmine High School. Paul Blackburn from the A's, once again, the A's connection. And then Willie Adames, if they decide at some point that
he'll be a Dodger.
You think so? I mean, Willie Adames, it would be nice if somehow Luciano is not in their plans. Ha-Seong Kim, because of the relationship with Jung Hoo Lee. But the guy out there that to me is like kind of like the creme de la creme, like that would be the guy that would make the fans go, whoa, is Pete Alonso. And if the Mets are going to move Pete Alonso, and I realize the Giants love their Lamont Wade, Wilmer Flores platoon at first, and it's suitable. It's fine, right? I mean,
that's Alonso. You can't go. It's
yeah,
Alonso.
I mean, it's Pete Alonso, and Alonso
that moves the needle.
Yes.
Yeah, that and also, I mean, you got Soler. You saw him run into one tonight. He's going to run into 35 more this year, right? But man, if you have a guy like a Pete Alonso,
he makes everybody better in that lineup.
He makes everybody better. He takes attention off of everybody. There's little kids rolling around every little area of Northern California wearing Pete Alonso jerseys, and I just think he's got the personality, the bat, the makeup, everything to just be the Giants' next whatever. And
he's going to be available in a few months because the Mets are going nowhere with that pitching staff.
So, I mean, that's the thing. Maybe you save up a couple of your Lucianos and your thises and your that's, and you put them all in one deal, try to go for a Pete Alonso. Because to me, if you could get a player like that, man, that would change the dynamic, I think. And as Ned said, I don't think the Giants, baseball is funny. The Giants looked really, really far away on March 1st, like a month ago. But then they get Chapman, and then they get Snell. You know what I'm saying? Then they all of a sudden they go to spring training, and Landon Roop kind of pops up. And suddenly you're looking up, and you're like, you know what? They're not that far away. And we all, every Giants fan knows. We know this very, very well. The same way LA can win 106 games, get bounced in the first round, the Giants have gotten squeezed in the wild card, didn't even win 90 and went on and won the World Series. So it's baseball, man. The Diamondbacks did it, had an incredible run last year until Boch and the Rangers shut them down. I think if you're a Giants fan, as sad as it is, LA's got such firepower at this point. You got to kind of think like that. Like, they're going to win their 106. Okay, can you get to 88, get in, and
let that pitching staff roll?
Right, and get hot. Or maybe Farhan can trade for the hot reliever. We saw that with K-Rod, Ned, in 2002. You're all too familiar with that. You guys kind of ran into an Angel team that had discovered the hot reliever, and they were hard to get off the field.
Was that Rodriguez rookie year?
K-Rod, yeah.
Yeah, it came up in September.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
You know what? What you just said is very interesting, because if they can get in and they got a healthy Snell and Ray and Webb, and if the Dodgers, one of the three guys we were talking about, if something happens to one of those three, or who knows what's going to happen. Glasnow's been terrific, but he hasn't pitched that many innings at any point in time. You've got the makings of something that could be interesting, because let's dream on it for a minute. Where's the pressure going to be?
It's gonna be on
If
LA.
you've got 106, 110 wins versus 88 wins in
Oh
that
yeah,
rival
it's all on LA.
with left-handed starting pitching, and two of the top three guys are both left-handed for
Yeah,
LA. So, I mean, it's a million miles away right now, and a bunch of good things have got to happen for one organization, and a couple of mediocre things have got to happen to a star-studded organization. But hey, that's how stories are written, and that's how things can happen. That's
well,
what I think the
yeah.
idea has been all the way through. For the way Farhan's handled this is to play the long game, get better as the season goes on, and just get in. Because if you get in, you may have enough starting pitching to go a little bit deeper. And some of those guys starting now, as we've talked about half hour ago, they will move into the pen.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so you got the makings of something that should get better as the season goes on.
You got Webb, Snell, and maybe a rejuvenated, healthy Robbie Ray. You never know.
That's not bad.
I'll say this: if you said what is the most positive thing that we've seen all week from the Giants, to me, it's Jordan Hicks in that third pitch that he's discovered. What is that pitch, Danny? Is that a split?
Yeah,
Split.
it's a split. Yeah, it's
Disgusting.
a nasty split. Very nasty.
Jordan Hicks with this split throwing 100. I mean, and he's not at 100 as a starter, so he's more like high 90s, but still high 90s. And he's got multiple pitches. Now he's added this third pitch, this splitter, which he kind of taught himself this spring. He looks really good. Like he can kind of do what some of these Dodger pitchers can do sometimes, and that's just pour it right in the zone with great stuff and the movement and he's nasty. So if Hicks becomes either a dominating 5-inning starter, which that could happen, or if he becomes like the league's best 8th-inning guy, I mean, you got Doval in the 9th. I mean, if you could go Hicks, Doval, and play a 7-inning game.
Yeah, this is
not crazy.
This has been my strategy and what I've thought of, and I think Farhan has got it. I really do.
Well, it's a good thing he's listening to your show.
It is. It really is.
300 of the 400.
I mean, we pointed it all out for him early on. We gave him the blueprint. No, I really think
it's been pretty interesting what's going down.
I think he made the right moves with moving off of Haniger and DeSclafani, getting Ray, adding obviously Snell, Chapman on a short-term deal. I was hoping it wasn't going to be a long-term deal, and it wasn't. So, but I think what you said, Ned, about getting into the playoffs is so true, because we saw it last year. We saw it with the Giants when they won some world championships. They just got in and then they got hot. If you get that pitching staff going at the end of the year, and you know what, who might be the X factor we haven't even talked about? Tomorrow night's going to tell us a lot where Kyle Harrison is.
Kyle Harrison.
Because he's going up against the Dodgers murderers row, and we're going to get to see what this young kid's got, because he pitched really well his first outing. He went 6 innings in San Diego. And how many pitches was it, Eric? Like 80?
81? Somewhere on there.
Which is probably his most efficient start of his entire pro career, because he hasn't gone past 4 innings. Generally, he was going maybe 4, getting into the 5th, and they were stopping him at 80, 85 pitches max last year. So the fact that he got through 6, if he can get through 5 tomorrow night and hold the Dodgers to 3 runs, I mean, that's probably a pretty good start.
The other great happening that nobody really noticed this week, guys, was that Carson Whisenhunt in his first start in AAA went 3 innings and struck out 6. And when I talked to Farhan about him on the radio last summer, I said, "What stands out to you about Whisenhunt?" And he's like, "He's got the Bugs Bunny changeup." And Ned, if you watch this kid, I mean, it's really spectacular to watch. because he's got, pretty lively fastball, mid 90s fastball, and it through the exact same arm slot. He's got this back it up changeup that is, it's dirty. It's just like, if the guy doesn't throw anything else except that fastball and that changeup from the same arm angle, you'd have a hard time hitting him. Just the way he can, and the difference in speed. His fastball's 95, his changeup's like 81, 82, something like that. He's pulling the string. Yeah, he's pulling the string. By the way, I should read this so Danny can get it off the screen. Nick says Conforto is the best hitter in the organization from a scouting perspective. Bat speed, barrel control, 4-5 win player with the Mets before the injury. Now he's going to Shanahan, I believe. He says Shanahan needs to go to scouting school. Ned, can you help him with that? Can you, Ned, the draft's coming up. Can you help Kyle Shanahan? All he's done is taken the Niners to the Super Bowl this year. He obviously doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah,
well, I played baseball with his dad. We were on city championship teams together.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Yeah. In fact, the team, as ironic as it was, the team picture shows us sitting next to each other.
Mike Shanahan, the coach of the Broncos. Wow.
He went to was it Eastern?
Went to Eastern Illinois, yeah. But we went to East Lyden High School together. A couple years older than me, but we played on city championship teams together.
Wow.
I played center field and second base, and he caught.
Wow.
And all these years later, we ended up working in pro sports.
That's cool.
Have you ever talked to him in the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah, off and on, here and there, not very often. The football coach at our high school just passed away last year, so that was a sad time for all of us. And Mike and he were very, very close. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for that family. And it's kind of cool seeing a guy you played with and teammates of and all of that, seeing his son do what Kyle has done. So I'm not going to teach Kyle anything. We can all keep learning. But Kyle Shanahan has done tremendous work. And I actually went to a couple Niner games this past year.
Did you?
I was up in San Jose doing the Sharks gig, and we had a Sunday off.
Bengals? It wasn't Bengals, was it?
No, early in the season, late September.
Cardinals, maybe? Cardinals?
Yes. And it was my first game in the stadium. Well, my first Niner game. Went to the Super Bowl there, and I was reminded of the passion of the fan base. And I was at Candlestick many times, working in San Francisco when the Niners played, and that was always an interesting day.
Wow.
But this was really, really something. The excitement, the buzz in that building is crazy.
Yeah.
They love that team.
What was the loudest you heard it this year? Was it the Detroit game, Larry, when they came back in the NFC Championship, or was it the
yeah, definitely the clinching, the score when McCaffrey went in to give the Niners the lead at the end of the Detroit game. It was we're sitting in the press box behind like 2.5 inches of glass. It's really hard to get that stadium feel, but man, the place just started to rock.
Wow.
And really shook. Yeah,
it's exciting. It's an exciting adventure there. It really is cool.
I'll tell you what's fun.
The CFO was a Dodgers CFO, Peter Wilhelm. So I had a chance to visit with him. We go back through the Frank McCourt era, and Peter and I would always have money discussions, and I'd always come in there begging for another nickel, and we'd just laugh, and we had a great time. And it's great to see him. And
wow, there's a connection between the Bay Area teams and the LA. Isn't Golden State Peter Goober? Isn't he with the Dodgers too?
Yeah,
Peter Goober
is. I have much respect for him. Of all the ownership I've been around, I've been around quite a few. I don't think I was ever around anybody so successful who has more curiosity, not in a bad way, in a great way, than Peter does. Peter, every time I see him, he say, "Hey, you got 15 minutes? I got to ask you something." And it was like really good stuff. Yeah. And never a second guess or stuff like that. Just a curiosity on different things, and his success in business in Hollywood, and also with the Warriors and the Dodgers, profound success there.
Wow.
Will
How's that?
Martinez here brings up Sinjo. When's the last time anybody brought up Sinjo on this show? Will Martinez, we should be giving you $4.99 for bringing up Sinjo.
I don't call him Shinjo. I call him World Series DH. That's what I call him.
That's what you call him? Okay.
Yeah, World Series DH.
Yeah.
No, but Jung Hoo Lee already better than Shinjo ever was, so that's a plus. Ned, do you think it's possible owners colluded against Scott Boras this
I don't think they
offseason?
colluded. I just think that with the TV deal with Bally's being up in the air and some teams not knowing what your revenue is going to be, I think that's part of the factor. And look through the history. A lot of teams have gotten, regardless of who the agent is, sometimes get 50 cents on the dollar.
So somebody's angry at Larry.
You get tired of getting beat like that.
This is the same man, Chase Broberg.
Chase is chasing you down, man.
Chase says, I've been angry with how you've tweeted about Jung Hoo Lee since every projection site has him plus 290, but gained a lot of respect after your explanation. Look at that.
There you go.
Look at that. I'm bringing Chase along. No, you're paying him 90. You're paying this guy $113 million. You're paying him $19 million a year. I think I said it before. He's likely to be good, but it's also the Giants haven't, now they've signed Chapman and Snell. At that point, this was the biggest signing they'd made, and the biggest signing in the history of Farhan. And to me, for Farhan, who's just the most risk-adverse general manager I think I've ever seen, this guy has made 175 moves involving nobody. I mean, I can't even. I could literally pick up a notebook. Danny could too. I'm not joking. There's 150 trades involving people that no baseball fan has ever heard of. When you're that risk averse, to have your big first risk be a KBO hitter, when only the guy from Cleveland, who I really loved, Shin-Soo Choo, is really the only hitter. I mean, I watched the KBO during the pandemic. Tolbert and I used to bet on it. I mean, seriously, you got the blank dinos, and I've got the Kia Tigers, and we were betting on this stuff. But guess what happened? When Major League Baseball came back, we stopped watching the KBO. Why? Because Major League Baseball is a totally different level than the KBO. So that was just my concern, that the Giants spent $113 million on a KBO hitter when most scouts tell you the KBO is like high A or low double A. So I was skeptical. There's lots of things to like about this player, and I can see that now that I've watched him for a few days. But I'll still say to everybody, back up. Let's not get crazy on this. Let's see what this looks like in June, right? Let's see what this looks like in July. But right now, he looks good in the outfield. He's got good bat-to-ball skills. He looks confident in what he can do. Let's see what he looks like in 6 weeks. That's all I would say. And I'm not rooting against him, but I do understand Major League Baseball advanced scouts, and I've seen some really good players, kind of shut down. And I'm eager to see what it looks like in 6 weeks. I'm rooting for him, though. I'm not rooting against him. I'm rooting for him.
We got Nick attacking the chat. Conforto is healthy. Will be a 850 OPS guy this year and the best hitter in the organization. These laughable dopes like the Soler signing when he's a middling DH. So how do they hate Conforto but not Soler? Small sample size.
$20 right? question.
Yeah,
that's a $20 question.
That's a $20 question.
Soler went deep tonight.
He did.
Yeah.
And you noticed they put him in between Conforto and Chapman. We were kind of saying that in the beginning of the season. Why were they having him in the 2-hole when he had no protection behind him? Now they gave him some protection. Now he had 2 hits, one of them being a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, let's remember this. At the end of the day,
thanks, Chase.
people pay big money to watch this stuff. And that last one you had there can you put that one back up there from Mr. Broberg? He says, we're losing, but this team is way more exciting. Exactly. Like, I sat on the couch with my son tonight, and at 4:00, he's like, hey, Giants are on against the Dodgers. And the Warriors played tonight against the Mavericks in kind of a big game. And he wasn't like, hey, I want to watch Warriors Mavericks. He's like, I want to sit on the couch and watch Giants Dodgers. Why? Because he's kind of excited by Jung Hoo Lee. He's kind of excited by Jorge Soler. He's kind of excited by the Giants' kind of rejuvenation. So, and then baseball, Giants Dodgers, you can't beat that. But I think we all got to remember, what does Jorge Soler bring to the table? He provides power on a team that hasn't had a ton of power. And it's a better show. I mean, this guy went deep 36 times last year, and there isn't a park in the big leagues that will hold his blast. So, you know what? I like it. I mean, if you had to play him in right field for 150 games in the old National League, I wouldn't like it as much. Yeah. But in a league where now you've got the DH, heck yeah, bring me Jorge Soler. I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm going to enjoy watching him all summer.
Yeah, and I'll say this about it. Oh, go ahead,
the
Ned.
Pitching staff gets healthy, and if they just play to expectation, not career, not 20-5, play to expectation, and get Ray back. Then you know what? I think it's going to be an exciting year for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do something big at the deadline because of that. And I think that if they get in and their pitching is healthy, I think, and you got Hicks and you got, the kid at the end of it may be tough to beat.
Yeah. Lou says he's betting the Dodgers run line tomorrow, lock. I might be with you. I took the Padres and the run line on Sunday. I said
what's the run line? The over under?
No, it's usually just 1.5. 1.5. Just
in other words, he thinks the Dodgers are going to win by multiple runs tomorrow. Who's the matchup tomorrow?
It's Glasnow versus Harrison.
Yeah.
So, but we talk about excitement. I was on this show and I was adamant that the Giants not sign Matt Chapman to a long-term deal, and I kind of relented at the end in saying, if they're going to sign him, just make it a short-term deal, because I didn't want to lock up the future of, possibly seeing Casey Schmidt. Plus, I just didn't think paying a 31-year-old guy who hasn't hit over 250 in 5 years. But I'll say this. When you talk about excitement, it's not just offense, the game. Defensively, Matt Chapman may be one of the best third basemen I have ever seen. This guy has such quick feet and his hands. He just is amazing. He really is a dynamite third baseman.
Is he the best, Ned? I mean, I was born the year Brooks Robinson did his thing in the World Series. That was the year I was born. So I can't really speak to that. If you say greatest defensive third baseman I've seen, I'll go to Mike Schmidt. I'll go to I used to pretend when I was 7 or 8 that I was Craig Nettles, right? Because of the World Series stabs against the Dodgers in the late 70s.
Somehow I can't picture that.
Matt Williams. Matt Williams was one of my favorites. I thought he was one of the greatest defensive third basemen I've ever seen. But this guy, Chapman, is just so special. Danny hit it right on the head. I mean, what I noticed more than anything is that he a lot of third basemen will have variable releases, as far as they may release it further back if it's they'll release it. This guy always, no matter if it's a shot, to his right, to his left, he gets like centered, and it doesn't look like he would get a lot on the throw, but then he just gets tons on the throw, and it's a perfect strike. To me, it's his throwing that is just like, he's so locked in. It's crazy.
Nobody mentioned the guy that won like 7 or 8 straight Gold Gloves that's still playing either.
Nolan Arenado.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Arenado, yeah.
He's
I don't know if
unbelievable.
Chapman's the greatest ever. He's very good. I have a hard time with greatest ever, but on any level. But defensively, very, very good. And you trust the player, you trust the defense. You've got to have defense. Defense ain't very sexy, but you can't win without it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No chance.
Nick, another $10. Giants
Nick.
went all in this year.
Nick is typing in from the ATM machine.
I hope that's going into my account. Let me look here.
I don't think so.
Am I bringing the money to the table here? Secure money. Am I bringing the secure money?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, man. Giants went all in this year with no plan at shortstop. Nick Ahmed has the worst swing in baseball, although he's driven in some big runs already this year. I don't care about his Texas League or Knox. In 3 weeks, he will be an automatic out. Luciano, please. Well, again, talking about defense, Nick Ahmed is a Gold Glove defensive shortstop, and the Giants chose to go defense over offense currently. And, maybe Luciano, I do agree with you in that I think the Giants, if they're going to really take off at some point, I think Luciano is going to play a part in that because his bat is special. I mean, we saw him in Scottsdale hit one off the scoreboard in a game.
Danny, in Scottsdale, who was he facing?
I don't know, but he still hit it off.
Danny, you could hit it to the warning track. If Kruger's pitching, you can hit it to the warning track in Scottsdale.
I don't know, but he's hit the Coke bottle in BP at
But it's for me.
I know
I'm
it's
different.
BP. I'm just saying.
I think they're playing it right. I think they're playing their hand right.
The game,
I do too. I think get Luciano more time to develop. Let him get a little bit more, defensive reps in the minors where it doesn't matter as much if you make an error or two or three, but it does in the big leagues. We saw it in the first inning when they put Tyler Fitzgerald in instead of Ahmed Sunday, a routine ground ball to him. First out of the game blows it and 5 runs erupt. And the game's over.
At some point in time, you'll see Luciano playing the first 6 innings of the game and Ahmed coming in for the last.
Yes, that's exactly. I agree.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing
and
wrong
also
with
the
that.
Giants, I think we talked about this last time Ned was with us. The Giants made the right call on third base because they were looking at Ahmed, they were looking at Crawford coming back, and they said, you know what, we're going to go with Ahmed. Ahmed's got a little bit more body left, a little bit more athleticism left, a little less heavy legs. He's a little better athlete. They're the same guy. I mean, him and Crawford are literally the same guy. They're going to play great defense in the infield. They're going to calm everybody down. The one thing I've noticed as a Giants fan the last few years is that when Crawford is not on the field, the Giants became a circus defensively. I mean, he made every play. And if you don't realize it, every time there was a pop-up anywhere on the left side of the diamond, middle of the diamond, center fielder deferred to Crawford. The left fielder deferred to Crawford. The third baseman deferred to Crawford. The second base, everybody deferred to Brandon. And when you took him off the field, it was like they couldn't play any defense at all. So they needed a defensive stopper. And that's all Ahmed is. He's actually a pretty great athlete for being that big of a guy. He's not going to hit. We all know he's going to hit 215. He's going to hit 220. I mean, but he is motivated this year because the Diamondbacks did, get rid of him, and he is kind of pissed about it, it sounds like. And maybe he'll be good against them. That's a bunch of games. They're a team that you want to compete against, but I think they played their hand right. I know Luciano got hot at the end of spring training. But obviously he had a hole in his swing early in spring training, or he had issues early because he was just an automatic out. I mean, he was just making outs every single day, all day. So let him. I think the best plan is to let Luciano get really rolling, where he's got 12 hits in his last 16 at-bats, and it's June 19th, and Ahmed's got a hamstring, and then bring him up when he's really, really rolling and see if he can, stay afloat for a few weeks. And then I think ultimately Ned just made the perfect, analysis, which is, you start him for 5 or 6, and you go to Ahmed in the late innings. But I mean, if you're trying to bring Roop along, and you're trying to bring some of your pitchers along, and Harrison, man, you got to have somebody who can pick it at shortstop. And I think they made the right call there. I really do.
Well,
You can only bring so many guys.
You know who disagrees with you, Larry?
Who's that?
Your banker.
Nick. Luciano wasting his time in sack because of this ridiculous ABS strike zone. Let him come up and struggle for 2 months. Then he will adjust and be ready to rock in the second half. Nick, it's an interesting viewpoint. Let's ask Ned, because Ned, we're talking about 2 different strategies. There's the put him up there, let him fail, let him totally fail, fall on his face, and break him down and build him back up. Approach.
Matt
and then
Williams
there's my approach, which is stick him in the minors until he's really, really, really rolling, and then promote him. I mean, there's arguments to be made for both tactics. What do you think?
I don't think you sign Snell and Chapman and Lee, and then have Ivcom maybe playing shortstop by himself. I think the signings that they made, especially late in the offseason, indicate to me that they want to compete right now. And I think whenever you have a young player, it's always best to have a backup to the young player.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do a hybrid answer to this. I leave him down for a little while longer. Let him get hot. Let him really start to be the best player 6 days a week, 5-6 days a week. Really get him to that point, and then bring him up and let him play 5-6 innings, get 3 at bats, really get that under control, and have Ahmed back him up and play the last couple innings of every game. So you're not losing games with defense or because of anxiety or because of whatever late. You've got to be able to pick it up. You got to be able to limit the other team to 27 outs. You can't be giving them 28 or 29 because you're going to try and rush somebody to the show. The show ain't that easy. And if you've done what they've done, they're not trying to win 81 games. They're trying to get in. So you don't have to make a decision right now. Let the kid really get good. And then you bring him up and you still got a little bit of a safety net. And you know what? If he was really a great defensive player as time goes on and the offense is there, when the lights are the brightest, okay, then you can figure out what you're going to do with Ahmed. But until then, Ahmed to me has got great value because he lets you bring Luciano up at some point in time, and you don't have to entrust a kid with all the pressure that comes with playing every day, 9 innings a day, both sides of the ball. It's a lot to ask. Very, very few players are able to do that, especially in the middle of the diamond.
Ned, 2-part question for you on this ABS.
I've only got
strike zone.
time for one there, Danny.
Okay.
I gotta get some
Okay.
sleep.
Well, the ABS strike
Go
zone. Does what he's saying, Nick, does that make a difference in the minor leagues as far as players getting used to that versus coming up and maybe getting calls that are outside the strike zone, getting called on by certain umps?
Yeah.
And the second part, do you see the automatic strike zone coming to the big league soon?
I don't know about what soon is.
1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years.
It'll get there at some point. That's how sports is going. I think different umpires have different strike zones. A machine could have a different strike zone than when he gets called up. I think for hitters to be really good hitters, and I think back to the great hitters, the Bretts, the Barry Bondses, the Tony Gwynns. You're talking about constant adjustment. The best will adjust pitch to pitch. I just got called a strike on a pitch I thought was outside. Step out. I gotta adjust to that. Okay, that's what the best ones do. So whatever the strike zone is, you're going to have to adjust to it if you're going to be one of the best players in the game. That's just what the best ones do. It's a constant adjustment. Those who adjust once a month, they end up doing something else for a living.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ned, we appreciate you joining us tonight, and we'll have you back. As you say, we'll get you on once a week or every 10 days or so if that works out for your schedule.
Let's figure that out. Love being on with you guys.
Awesome.
No bats and balls tonight, huh?
I'm at school tonight. I teach at Pepperdine on Tuesday night and Wednesday day, and I stay up at a little hotel here on campus. So I'm up at the little hotel
nice.
up in Malibu.
You mean you're roughing it in Malibu? Do you ever walk around that campus and just go, Jesus, wow?
Yeah, every day I'm up there. I've been up here 8 years now.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
Or even driving up onto campus. I mean, KD's got a place out there. All the big Hollywood people have places in Malibu. Malibu's one of those places that if you don't have a reason to go there, there's almost no reason that you'd ever go there. But it is got to be as spectacular as almost any 15-mile or 20-mile stretch of California coastline. Malibu.
Wow.
What Malibu, Ned? Give us a quick Malibu.
It's beautiful. It's peaceful. PCH is sometimes very dangerous. We had 4 students killed back in November.
How so? Because the rocks falling and stuff?
No. Somebody driving allegedly over 100 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So, you got to pay attention. And but it is a stunning place. There's no doubt. And the views from campus. I'll usually walk the students to the big window in class once a semester and say, so you're looking at this right now. Do you want to look at this besides inheriting very well later on in life? Well, you better start paying attention and start working because this does not come easy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There you go, man.
Well, thanks for jumping in, man.
Got to be one of the best campuses in all of America. I went to Point
It's
Loma.
an honor to teach up here, and not because of the beauty of the campus, but because of the people that work here and the people who go to school here.
That's great.
Many times, I'm flying all over the place. I'm at LAX every week, twice, sometimes 3 times. I'm in San Jose all the time. I'll be up there Sunday morning. We have a 3:00 game. I'll get in the morning. I'll fly out at night. I'm always at an airport, it seems, even at this stage of life.
Man, you need to get a pilot's license.
But I only do it because I love doing it. And
right.
I could probably teach other places, but it's tough to leave a place where the people really care.
Yeah.
And they do the best they can to help everybody who comes through here as an employee or as a young person trying to learn more about the vocation that they want to pursue.
It's kind of like this live stream. It's very difficult to leave a place where Danny cares as much as Danny.
Tuition's a little bit more than $1.99 a question,
though. All right. Well, hey,
Ned,
Ned,
boys, we'll see you later.
Have a great night. We'll see you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you.
Ned Colletti, the great Ned Colletti. Awesome stuff.
That was awesome.
It's interesting. Pepperdine, man, they used to have a really good basketball team like 20 years ago for 3 or 4 years in a row.
Aren't they always good? They're always good.
Yeah, they were always good. They were always good. I don't know what happened to them. I haven't heard much of them in the last decade or so. But they used to.
I'm trying to think who their star was, but they had somebody who went to the NBA who was damn good.
Yeah,
we're just not thinking of.
Yeah,
but yeah, Pepperdine. I've seen pictures of that campus. And it's just looking over Malibu right there. And it's like, wow, that is a spot, man. And then if you drive to LA or if you go to LA, there's no real reason to drive by there. You know what I mean? It's like you wouldn't go up there unless you own property up there or went to school there.
Right. Right.
But it is spectacular.
We got another one from Nick here, huh?
Yeah, I think Chase put one out there. No, it's Nick.
This one right here?
Yep, that's the one.
Luciano's issue is that he's too passive right now. The ABS strike zone will just let him walk versus junk ballers in AAA. I'd rather him in Richmond than Sack. Is Richmond not have the ABS?
I don't know. That I couldn't tell you.
That's interesting
But
because
Chase had another one in here too as well. Crawford was a negative defender by all metrics the last 2 years. Defense goes before hitting. Your opinion of Farhan changed this offseason?
Your opinion on Farhan changed after this off? Maybe he meant has it.
Yeah. You know, I don't know, because I mean, it's just, you know, they're still in this mode of kind of, you know, I just think that Farhan is serving a different master than I'm used to. I'm used to, you know, put together a team and market that team and then have people buy tickets. He still reacted, you know, so much of what he did this year was so late in the game. And is that Farhan or is that
reactive?
Boris?
Right.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, can we blame Boris for that?
I mean, we know the Dodgers just went out and got what they wanted. They said, okay, this is what our offseason is. We're just going to go get it before anybody else does. And they spent the money and got it. I'm kind of Farhan.
He's very worried. He's very worried about how he's perceived. I mean, don't you think? I mean, that's why. Do you really believe like the Giants offered Shohei Ohtani $700 million with $698 million deferred like LA did? I don't believe that for a second. And that's a story that they've gone with all off season. So, you know, that it's like, are we being told the truth? Or are we being spun? But I'll say this. I always have liked Farhan as I couldn't stand Kapler because Kapler was a classic bully. Kapler was a classic, you know, fake and fraud. Yeah. But Farhan's a nicer person and I think a way smarter guy. But ultimately it's going to come down to, you know, do they win? And thus far they have not won in his regime.
Yeah.
So
I kind of, you know, I look at it this way with Farhan. To me, he focuses on certain things. And like you said, he's so risk adverse. And then he spends so much time to me on the back end of the 40. Like, for example, he goes and signs Tom Murphy, $4 million a year for 2 years. You had Joey Bart, who could be a backup catcher, cost you nothing. He's 27. Murphy's 33 tomorrow. Does
the net difference make you better? That much better?
Not that much. Not that much.
It's paying more. Yeah.
But you're paying more. What I would have done is taken that $4 million, not re-signed, not tendered Austin Slater for $4 million. There's $8 million, and I wouldn't have tendered Yaz for $8 million. That's 16. That turns into Rhys Hoskins. And now you have an everyday first baseman that can hit 30 homers.
But to hear some Giants fans say it, Danny, they feel like the people who are like in the analytics crowd were arguing after Hoskins signed with the Brewers that the Giants were better off with Wilmer and Lamont Wade. So, I mean, if you really believe that going with Wilmer Flores, who's a pretty good hitter, and Lamont Wade, you know, over Rhys Hoskins is a you know, a superior first baseman, I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess I don't know baseball because in my mind, Rhys Hoskins is clearly better than a Wade Flores platoon. Clearly.
Right. Yeah. And I think so.
Even if the D is not good.
And then he does this. He signs Cooper Hummel and he signs Otto Lopez and he DFAs these guys to bring up Nick Avila and the kid that pitched Jeffries, and Jeffries is already back down. I mean, you basically said, okay, Joey, we're giving up on you for one start for Dalton Jeff. And he did the same thing a few years ago with Dixon Machado. He signs Dixon Machado and let that I can't remember the kid's name. He pitched in the 21 playoffs, the reliever.
Yeah, I
The
forget. Kind of a
Dominican kid.
thick guy with a big
Venezuelan
curveball.
yeah. He had really good stuff, and then he kind of lost it over a year, but his velocity, and they just gave up on. I don't know. Maybe it was a good move, but it's these moves that you pick up for a week or two. It doesn't seem like there's any long-term plan. Like, why are we picking up guys just to get rid of them a couple weeks later? It just, I mean, I thought Otto Lopez looked like a guy that was pretty athletic, that looked like a guy that could maybe, if Luciano's not ready, maybe he's on the 40. Maybe you could put this guy in and he plays short or second and he steals some bases and gets on base. You know, he looked like
he does the fantasy football thing. I do it, you do it, we all do it, which is you get that last spot on your fantasy bench and you keep scouring the list of available players. And you keep saying, well, if I just, maybe I'll just add this one guy and I'll add this one guy. Pretty soon you've made like 8 transactions and you've got this, you've made 8 transactions with players that have not even played 1 week of your fantasy team because you're just always looking for kind of incremental improvement. I don't know. I think Farhan's smart, but I think his communication skills is not great. I think he does get worked a little bit by agents. I think he got worked by Boris big. Are you telling me that there was a team out there that was willing to give Jung Hoo Lee, there wasn't, you had to go 19 million a year. You couldn't have gotten Jung Hoo Lee for like 15 or 16 million a year. I'd love to know the major league team that was going to give him 17 or 18 million a year. I feel like Boris worked him on it. I really do. But here's the bottom line. If they can get into the playoffs, and it's easier than ever to get into the playoffs. Every year they add a playoff team and it's easier to get in. If they can get into the playoffs and somehow Robbie Ray and Blake Snell and Logan Webb can get them through a couple rounds and they wind up in a NLCS or a World Series, all will be forgotten. It just seems kind of, I'll say this. I like the vibe better this year, where last year it felt like full on analytics.
Yeah.
Where this year it feels like Farhan's analytics, but man, you got some real baseball guys in there. Melvin and Ryan Christensen and Matt Williams. And it just feels like a little bit better balance.
Wahlberg's a good, Wahlberg's a baseball guy. He's a first base coach. Or not Wahlberg. What is this? Hallberg? Mark Hallberg? Yeah.
Hallberg.
Yeah.
It helps being Buster Posey's best friend too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I'll say this, the team is going to be in the chase for a wild card. It's probably going to come down to September. And does Farhan make any moves at the trade deadline? I mean, last year they were in the top wild card position and they did nothing but sign AJ Pollock. And, the Giants just went completely downhill. It's almost like the locker room was like, what? This is all you don't believe in us? I mean, come on.
They were in a free fall after that move.
Yeah, you got AJ Pollock coming off a hamstring injury who hadn't played in a month, and that was your best move? It's like, really? So, and then Arizona makes 3 or 4 moves and makes it to the World Series. So the Giants this year have the potential to get into the playoffs, and Robbie Ray is pretty much like a trade acquisition at the deadline, because that's about when he's going to be available sometime around August. And if, he's healthy, my concern really is kind of surprising. I've kind of said this and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I have some concerns about the efficiency this year with Logan Webb. I mean, he threw so much the last couple years, innings wise, and he's pitched more and more the last couple innings. This year, I mean, 96, 97 pitches tonight in 4 and what do you go 4 2/3, 4 1/3 tonight?
30 in the first. That kind of set up his night.
Yeah, but overall, what did he?
95.
Yeah, he got in
95
the 90s.
pitches.
Yep.
95, and he went. He went 4 and no
96,
3
96
3 and
pitches,
2/3.
55 strikes.
3 and
96
2/3.
pitches. Yeah.
Didn't even get through the fourth. So 3 and 2/3 innings. If he, I mean, we see this a lot in baseball where guys have really good years, couple 2-3 years, and then they kind of fall back. The league kind of figures it out or something. Because I mean, he's good enough to really get his stuff. He has, for Webb to be effective, he's got to have location. Location's got, and teams like the Dodgers lay off of that. Where he beats teams is where people go up and swing at that sinker ball,
and the slider away.
And the slider, yeah, and they just keep swinging and swinging. But
I kind of liked. I mean, I got to be honest. I kind of liked the way the Giant bullpen looked tonight. I mean, yes, Webb couldn't get out of the fourth, but Roop gave you 2 shutout, struck out 4.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Rogers, I thought, he had some excellent movement on his breaking pitch. And then Ryan Walker is pretty nasty. I mean, he went an inning in 2/3. He walked 1. He's got, mid-90s fastball. He can move the ball from right to left. He can move the ball from left to right. I mean, he's got a rubber arm. He can pitch in almost any scenario. So, I think it's going to be interesting. What does Cobb give when he comes back? What does Robbie Ray look like when he comes back? Are those guys so impressive that Hicks, Jordan Hicks, can be an 8th inning guy? If Jordan Hicks is your 8th inning guy, and you got these other guys kind of leading into Hicks and Doval, they might be pretty good on the mound. My big question with Farhan was why the early offseason commitment to Slater and Yaz.
Oh,
it wasn't like this happened 2 weeks before spring training. It was like, we got to get this done. And I don't get it. You've essentially clogged your outfield. You really should be playing Luis Matos, but you're not.
Yes.
You really should have probably tried to find another fast athletic outfielder before, in spring training to fill in. But you weren't looking for that because you got Yaz and Slater, and they're both hitting 0. And Yaz has had 3 years in a row of really bad stats. Slater's just kind of a he's all right.
We know who Slater and Yaz are.
Yeah, he's like a 4th or 5th outfielder at best. The rest of the team, I got no problem with, really. I mean, the rest of the team is the other guy that's going to be interesting to watch offensively is Patrick Bailey. Patrick Bailey had a terrible at bat tonight.
Yeah, he took that strike 3 right down the middle. And
right now he's hitting 308 with a 400 on base. And I think if you play him every day, he's probably going to hit
220.
I was going to say 235 with a 315 on base.
And he threw another ball in the outfield.
Yeah. I will say this about Murphy, and I didn't love, to me, I agree with your point, which is, hey, Murphy's not a catcher. I mean, that's the thing. Joey Bart's a better catcher than Murphy.
Right. He's a better
catcher. He's a better defensive catcher. Why not just go with Joey Bart since you want to see him anyway and just, go with young catching and be healthy there all summer. Instead, you go with Murphy, and I'm excited by Murphy's bat. He looks like a hitter, but his defense is just totally subpar. So
you know what I would have done, Larry? You know what I would have done? It's thinking out of the box, and it's a little bit controversial. Some people would just say it's crazy, but you had a guy in Joey Bart you really didn't know. I mean, he had a really good spring, hit over 400, and you wanted to carry 3 catchers so you could protect him for a little while. They sent Luciano down and Matos down. Why? Because they have options. So does Patrick Bailey. Why not start the season with Joey Bart for 2 weeks and see what he's got? And you know what? If he's hot and you want to trade him, you get more value. And if you, if you're going to dump him anyway for nothing, why not see what he can do? And Bailey had options. There's no crime in starting Patrick Bailey in the minors. He jumped last year.
Bailey is Farhan's one draft success story, and because of it, he's getting the golden boy treatment, even though he's got a lot of development left.
He does. He does not. I mean, I've seen he led the league last year in pass balls. I wanted to ask this to Ned, but I know he had to go. But if they bring in the automatic strike zone, Patrick Bailey's value goes way down because there's no more framing. It's just, and he's not a great as far as, catching the ball all the time. He lets a lot of balls just get past him, but he isn't a tremendous framer. And that's what makes him so valuable to the pitching staff. But for everybody out there who's new and watching on Larry's channel, The Krug Show, and NorCal Sports Network, we're doing a simulcast show right now. I want to tell you guys my Twitter account. I want to show you. I put out a tweet today, and that's at NCal Sports NET then work WK. And this trade here I put out is something that I wanted to show everybody because
I can't see it. So just tell me what it is.
It's hard to see. Can you see the it's kind of a picture, but it's for Luis Robert.
I feel like I'm at my eye doctor appointment.
Yeah,
better left, better right.
I'll have to pull I'll pull it up
TRCL.
somewhere else. Yeah. Well, anyway, baseball trade values, it's pretty much what a lot of trades are used by. There's a value placed on them. And Luis Robert has a trade value of 76. Okay. Or 77.3. The Giants don't have a lot of guys that have value in their system. The best three guys in the system are Webb at 75, and then you have Harrison at 34, and Duvall's like a 29. But Luis Matos is a 33, Luciano's a 23, Rainer Arias is 11, Mason Black a 5, and Yaz a 5.8. That equals 78. So what I was suggesting is that the Giants trade for Luis Robert and John Brebbia to shore up the bullpen. Here's what what it says. If the Giants are not going to play Matos and Luciano, trade them for a star like Luis Robert of the White Sox. They are terrible and looking to rebuild. This trade works, and the Giants need more bats in the lineup. With Snell and Cobb back,
would the White Sox do that?
Well, I think the White Sox are by trading Cease. I think they're signaling that they are open for business because they had a decent team. I don't know why you would just get rid of your best pitcher, and I don't think they're going anywhere with what they have. Roberts is.
I'll say this. I mean, if the White Sox are backing up a truck, I mean, how about a couple prospects for Andrew Vaughn? I mean, he went to Cal. You could stick him at first base. You got a first baseman.
Yeah,
for the next
Vaughn
10
would
years.
be great.
But I mean, Luis Robert is phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. The Giants. I'd love to see Farhan be real aggressive with trying to add. They've got pitching. They've got a kind of a surprising pen in some ways. I would say that one more bat could make a big difference for them.
Yep. I agree.
Luis Robert? Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You add Luis Robert to this team. This team's good. And by the way, the Giants split in San Diego. They're getting outclassed here in LA. But I think they're going to hammer the league outside of a couple teams. I think the Giants could win consistently in this league. So it's not, don't get too down because it looks like it's going to take heaven and earth to beat the Dodgers. You don't have to beat the Dodgers. You just need to kind of hang around, win a few games with the Dodgers, and then beat up on the rest of the league. And I think that's doable. Look at me being positive.
Dan, you're muted.
I was going to say, I do want to say this to everybody. I do believe that Matos, I believe in keeping Matos and Luciano and building these guys for the future. But it appears that Farhan wants to go with older, aging vets with little upside, like Slater and Yaz, known on NorCal Sports Network as Slaz. We just combine them together. Slaz. You want some Slaz? You get it. Robert has a cannon.
Sounds like something you put on like a deli sandwich.
Yeah.
Would you,
give me a.
You want slaz? Oh yeah. Make sure I get some slaz.
Give me some
It's like,
Slaz.
it's like a salad plus like lettuce plus
Slaz.
little
That's it.
I want a little slaz on my sandwich. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
take a look at this lineup I came up with. If you did have Luis Robert, that's Lee leading off, Robert batting second, Conforto, Soler, Chapman, Wade Flores, whoever you want to go with, Estrada, Bailey, and Ahmed. And then if you, like Ned said, Luciano comes up later on in the year and you play him the first 6 innings and put Ahmed in for defense. I mean, the Giants need another bat and they need some bullpen. The bullpen's going to get solved, I believe, when Snell comes back and Cobb, and then eventually Ray. Now you can move Hicks to the bullpen and Keaton Wynn, who would be good. And you got Landon Roop. Now you got solid bullpen. But you can't go with some of these guys that are just, I mean.
Who's the dog meat guy in their pen? I mean, I like, I mean, Taylor Rogers I like. Tyler is kind of,
a little bit. Too gimmicky for me, but I mean, he gets it done.
I mean, I don't know if I can trust Tyler Rogers. Right. I don't know if he's a championship caliber reliever, but the rest of it, if you had Hicks, I mean, Hicks is amazing. Doval is maybe the best closer in the league. Ryan Walker is plenty good. I'm fine with Ryan Walker, and this kid Roop is just really ridiculous. I mean, to me, that's the story of the night is they went to Landon Roop and he struck out the hottest guy in the game with a curveball on the hands that was just the nastiest thing I've seen. So I think their pen might not be as big of an issue. They're one good, real good bat short. That's what they are. They had one more real good bat.
Mm-hmm.
They would be a 90-win team.
Yeah, that's why I say if you're going to go for it, why not try and go get a Luis Robert? I mean, the guy adds power. He adds.
You think he's available, huh?
I think for the right price that you could get him. I think if the White Sox saw that they could get Matos, Arias, and Luciano plus a pitcher like a Mason Black, or you might have to go with a Wisenhunt. I was trying to avoid a Wisenhunt, but if you did that, I think the White Sox say, well, gosh, we've got a top 100 player in Luciano. Matos looks like he's coming into his own, and they're both 22. The White Sox can kind of reload. I mean, eventually they're going to do it. They'll probably not trade Robert, and they'll sit on him and waste him because the White Sox aren't winning anytime soon. I don't see it.
My question would just be, forget the big names for a second. Just right now, let's just say, are you telling me that Mike Yastrzemski is a better option than Wade Meckler?
I don't even think so. I think Wade Meckler is a better hitter.
I think Wade Meckler is a much better hitter.
Yeah, I think Matos is better. Meckler is better. I think
yes.
I don't know how long they're going to hang on to this Slaz group. I mean,
I don't get it.
They're still. I think it isn't Slater eligible for free agency after this year. Okay, so he's probably done unless nobody wants him and Farhan loves him and signs him to some $2-3 million deal. But
it's almost like Farhan feels like the attendance is tied to Yaz and Slater, and I think he's totally wrong by that. I don't think Giants fans.
Nobody cares about those.
Nobody's. Slater's from Stanford. Yaz is a recognizable name. It's like, so. I mean, what are we talking about here? It's bizarre.
Larry, what did you make of the San Diego series where they didn't even start Matos once. The only time they started him was because Flores got hurt. They didn't even start him in the right field when Yaz was down for paternity leave.
I know why.
Why?
We guessed. Yeah.
I think it's true. I don't think they wanted Matos to start 3 games and have this monster series and go 6 for 12 while Yaz is off having on a paternity leave, and he comes back and loses his job because he had a baby. That doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good. And you can't send
God, I hope that's not true.
Why would you play Matos? They said he had the best. Why would you even bring him up and just waste him for 3 days? Why not just bring up Meckler or bring up
Ramos.
Somebody that Matos needs to be playing. And he hadn't played since Monday night against Oakland. And you're just going to sit this kid for a week when he's 22. He needs to be in the lineup getting at bats and not sitting on the bench. I don't know. To me, and I get that Wade is fine in right field, but I just think they didn't want Matos to shine. Because what would happen if Matos did come up and rake? What now?
Well, he'd have to play. He'd have to play.
And then what do you do with Yaz? You just sit him. You lost your job having a baby.
Yeah, but that of course does look bad.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's really the weakness on the club. If you look at it, Wilmer Flores is maybe one of their best hitters. You got third base solved now at Chapman. We already talked about, Ahmed and Fitzgerald and Luciano at short. Tyro's your Willie Mack Award winner, and he's probably one of your most solid guys. Bailey Murphy behind the plate. You signed Jung Hoo, so you've committed to him in center. You got Conforto on a bounce back year. Soler's your everyday DH, and then it just comes down to Slater, Wade, and Yaz. And it's just odd that they would clog their outfield where there's so many good offensive options available typically every year with Slater, Wade, and Yaz. Now, some people really like Lamont Wade, but what did Lamont Wade do last year?
He did okay. He did okay.
Did he?
He did
22,
okay.
He wasn't.
256, 17 home runs. I guess that's up. The 373 on base is good.
Right.
But, it's like, really, you're talking about, Wade and Yaz and Slater in major outfield roles. I feel good actually about their pen because I think that ultimately that thing's going to solve itself. I really do, especially if Keaton Wynn, who I thought looked really nasty in the last game. If Keaton Wynn were in your pen, you got a big power righty with a nasty splitter and 96 miles an hour. And you've got Ryan Walker and the versatility there. And then you've got Roop and his killer curveball. You got the Rogers brothers. You got Jordan Hicks. You got Doval. There's that. To me, that's
Giants will compete. They need another bat. I said this from the beginning. I don't like the lineup, the makeup. It to me, it has too many hitters that are 240 or under. And you need some more pop. And, if you're not going to go with somebody like a Luis Robert, why not find a way to go get Luis Arias and put him at first base? The guy can hit 330, another guy on base.
Why does everybody want to trade that guy?
He's
Minnesota, Florida, and seems like everybody wants to move this guy, and all the guy does is rake.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't do much but hit, really. He's not a great defender. So that's a problem. But he gets on base, he hits for average, and I don't know, he can play first base and second base.
That's where the Giants are most improved. We haven't really talked about it, but defensively. Now you got Bailey every day. You got, Ahmed and Chapman on the left side. That's a really, really good left side. And you got Jung Hoo in center, and he seems to be playing it confidently. So it's like they have improved dramatically defensively.
Yeah, and Yaz is
And
good in right field, but I
and
don't like his bat.
Yaz is a good defender, but I'm just saying what they really could use is they just look a little bit outgunned by by the Dodgers.
Yeah,
But I guess everybody's going to be that way. But to me, I think you've focused on the right thing. It's like they're really just that one dangerous hitter away, one really solid bat away from being a team that could, really make noise.
The reason I would do that with Luis Robert is he's got 4 years of control. So I would give up all that to do it if you're not going to play these
I would
guys.
too.
I mean, because, Luis Robert, if he gets on a team with some veterans like Soler and Conforto and Chapman and some of these other guys, and he sees the pitching staff that the Giants have, it might light a fire under him. I'm sure it's tough to play in a team like the White Sox that are kind of cellar dwellers,
Yep.
Well,
hey, Dan, let me hit some of these super chats.
What's their direction too? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
I got Chase said Wade top 25 in OPS last year, but Slaz sucks. And then you got Nick with another $10. I think this organization is down on Luciano. The fact that they gave the job to this jackass Ahmed kind of proves it. So I'm down for that trade. Robert in center field, Lee in right field, Lee to right field, and Conforto in left.
Can Luis Robert, how good of a center fielder is he?
I think he is a center fielder, if I'm not mistaken, right?
But I mean, how good is he out there? Is he better than Jung Hoo Lee?
He's a really good center fielder, but I would stick him if you got Luis Robert. I'd stick him in right field because he's got the best arm. He's got a cannon for an arm.
Yep, makes sense.
And that's why you'd stick your best guy in arm in right field.
Could you imagine if they had the Luis Robert in right field and a polar bear at first base?
Oh my goodness! It'd be like the 60s Giants. Mays, McCovey, Cepeda.
I mean, I don't even care if they win. I seriously don't. I mean,
fireworks, man.
I mean, baseball season is it's every day. You're watching this stuff every day. It's not the Niners. The Niners play 17 Sundays. That's it. And then the season's over. And then it's playoff time. The Giants are going to play every night almost between now and
the beginning of October.
Yeah, we're talking about the entire summer. So in a lot of ways, it's like, hey, you know what? I want this to be really entertaining. And
absolutely,
my kid was like, Soler's gonna walk or strike out or hit a home run all year. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't care because I love watching him hit. To me, when he's coming up to bat, I focus a little bit more on the TV just because I know this guy can put one in the stratosphere. And to me, that's part of the show. I like that. I like that aspect of baseball.
And you know what I like about that idea with the trade too, Dan? It's because we can't sign free agents. Don't even think about Soto. Soto ain't happening, right?
No.
So the only way you really could do it is this: you may have to trade some guys that you may want to keep.
Yeah, and trading guys sometimes
MLB talent.
Yeah, sometimes you trade guys you don't want to trade, but to get something, you got to give up something, and it's got to hurt. And you know what?
But that's the problem with
Robert.
He doesn't want it to hurt.
Robert is proven. The other guys, as much as we like Luciano, Matos, and we think of, they really haven't done anything yet.
Well, the Giants are in a perfect spot right now. They don't have 15 needs. They really don't. There's been other years where you're like, well, why bother? Because, they could add one guy, but they're still going to have 5 different holes. If they could add a Luis Robert, you're talking about a team that could potentially win 90 games. I mean, they don't have a ton of holes. They really don't. Rotation's kind of fortified.
Luis Robert, now you got some serious thump.
Yeah.
And all Lee has to do is concentrate on, getting on base, hits the occasional home run, play solid defense. Now you got guys that can hit the ball out with Soler and Robert and, Chapman and Conforto. You got 4 guys that could hit 25 homers.
And you just
More.
say to Jung Hoo, hey, man, play the hell out of center field and set the table. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
You set the table, you get on base. You get on base, walk or hit, doesn't matter if extra base hits. Work on your contact game and score runs. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I do think the Giants can go out and get guys like that if they push for it, because there's no guarantee that the White Sox are willing to trade him, and that's what the public stance is. But the public stance was all spring, we're not trading Dylan Cease, right?
Mhm.
I mean, come on, they're signaling that they're not
Right.
up for contending. So, I mean, imagine if the Giants today said, we're trying to contend and we're trading Logan Webb for a couple of minor leaguers that we like. You'd say you're not serious about winning.
Yeah. You don't
This
want to
year.
do that.
Is this true?
You didn't see that trade while we were on?
Oh my! No, I did not.
Yes, that was made. I made it.
Oh,
Dan made a trade.
It was offered to
Oh.
me. We were working on a deal, and he threw in. He wanted Clay Holmes, and I was looking at Lee, and he threw in Langford and for Yaz added, and I said, okay.
Who's gonna get your saves?
I'm working on that. I did get a save tonight with Helsley.
Oh, that's good.
And I still
Hater
have.
blew a save for me today.
Okay. These guys talked me in, Larry, to fantasy baseball, which I said I don't want to do. I've got
Too many moves.
I've got to have a life. It's 6 months long, and here it is. We're a week in, and I've used 10 of my 60 waiver claims, and I've made 2 or 3 trades. Yeah.
You made 3 trades in a matter of 24 hours.
It's what I do.
It's the way he does it.
It's what I do. I don't know why, but I said I told you 2 days ago, I'm just going to let this thing go and see how my team does. And then
Dan picks up the waiver claim of Yaz just for shits and giggles.
I got him traded somehow.
And Glenn
It's probably Wyatt Langford.
Don't
I don't get it, man.
Did you see Ned, by the way, chuckle when I said Farhan's made 150 trades involving absolutely nobody?
I did.
Oh,
And it's not even a lie. It's probably that he's probably made more.
Yeah.
I went through a list of all of his transactions, and I was going to do a video on it, and I got about a year and a half into his regime, and I was like, that's it. I can't even do this video. There's just too many. There's too many Padlows. There's too many Stewie Fairchilds. There's too many, Connor Joes. I mean, it was just
Hummels.
like he is just obsessed with the nothing trade. I mean, nobody makes more nothing trades.
All with Seattle. Yeah, exactly, Mark.
Yeah. Nick says Robert has a very team-friendly deal right now, $12.5 million this year, 15 next year and 25, then 2 straight years of club options at $20 million each.
Yeah, that's why it's going to cost.
Unrestricted free agent, and then he corrected it and means 2028. So you get 4 full seasons. That's what I was saying with Robert. That's why I would do that deal.
You might have to pay a premium because of the club control there, but it's worth it.
Yeah, you get 2 Cubans in the lineup there.
Well, and here's the thing, is it going to burn? I mean, if one of these guys, like, I think Matos is a pretty nice little player. Okay. I think Luciano's got major right-handed power, but to me, he doesn't quite look like a shortstop. He's a little stiff. He's got a huge swing. It's just like, to me, if you told me 3 years from now he's a power hitting left fielder, I would probably agree with that. So I mean, Rainier area supposedly is their real hot prospect, but who cares? At the end of the day, is Rainier Arias going to be better than Luis Robert in the majors? Probably not. So, you know what? I mean, they're kind of in a juicy spot right now in that they do have enough prospects to trade for one, good bat. And that's really what they need is one
Yep.
good bat. So
That's-
it's kind of a juicy situation this summer for the Giants. If they can just hang around, get some positive, pitching and Roop and some of these guys, and just get to, mid-June or early July with just needing that one extra bat, they might be able to.
Well, this is what I want
to make a
why
move.
I want Farhan to actually not wait. Why, the best GMs, they make moves before everybody else. And they, Andropoulos, he's making deals. He's not waiting until July 31st. He's making deals in the year they won the World Series in 21. He's making deals in early July and getting guys done. Farhan should try to get out in front of this and go out and get a Luis Robert and move some of these guys and see it start pushing, making the phone calls to see what's available to add that guy so that maybe when it comes around June, early July, you can pull that trigger ahead of everybody else. So what's
Speaking
so
of
funny?
pulling the trigger,
What do we got?
Glenn just dropped Yaz.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he just dropped Yaz and picked up Michael A. Taylor.
Oh, Michael A. Taylor's not bad. Shoot.
But he just traded for Yaz. Why would
I
you?
Who is this genius general manager?
Oh man! Come on, Glenn. What are you doing?
Wait a minute. I picked up Yaz for tonight's game
Yes.
because I didn't have any outfielders playing because of guys were on the bench, and I just had this weird feeling that Yaz was going to hit a home run tonight because he had a kid and the Dodgers were throwing a bullpen game. I thought, well, maybe Yaz, he does the heroic thing, hits one down the right field line with that short porch with that little 3-foot fence, and I get some big points. And all of a sudden, I'm dealing with this deal. It's just Yaz. I mean, it's just Jung Hoo Lee for Clay Holmes. And I'm debating, and I'm trying to, and then all of a sudden the show starts and I see Glenn sends me, he changes and he adds Wyatt Langford to the deal and wants Yaz. And it says, bingo, I'll take it. And now he let Yaz go. That's all right. He's in second place.
Hey, next time we're playing poker, let's invite him. We'll send him let's send a town car for that guy.
Unbelievable.
He just said, thanks, Dan. I'm thrilled with our trade. Needed the saves to get me over the hump. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I get that. I understand that. But gave up Lee and Langford for saves.
I was last in the league in batting average, and I got Arias and Yadi Diaz, the two batting champs. How am I last in the league hitting 192? It's like, I don't get it. It's only 5-6 games, so that's gonna change. That's gonna change. But
wow.
Anyway.
We have one more super there from Chase Broberg.
You got it?
There he is. I got it right here.
The thoughts on Farhan developing arms and signing bats.
They're all short. That's the issue I have. It's all 1-year deals. Because after this year, you don't know what you got. It's kind of,
I mean,
you may have to redo this all over again.
Cliff Martinez. Northern Lights is lucky Tommy Pham isn't in this league.
Seriously,
Dan would be getting slapped.
There'd be guys throwing hands in the outfield.
Oh, I don't know about
I don't know.
his developing arms. I think the Giants have a pipeline of pitching that seems to be pretty good. And I think they drafted well this past year with, what's the kid? Bryce Eldridge. And then they
Bryce
got
Eldridge.
this kid, Walker Martin, in the second round, a shortstop out of Colorado, high school player that many people thought should have been a first rounder. And they got a lot of other shortstops. Maui Ahuna from Tennessee,
What'd you call me? They got Avison of Ortega.
Yeah, they got him, and they picked up like 4 shortstops in this last draft. So I'm thinking that long term, they don't see Luciano as their 10-year shortstop. I think their plan is maybe even to get Casey Schmidt at short for a year or two until some of these other guys develop or something. I don't know. I would move Luciano right now. If he's down in AAA, I would send him to AA, AAA, and just have him work in left field or right field. He's got a good arm. He looks to me more like a corner outfielder, kind of like a Soler type.
They're still playing him at shortstop. He went 2 for 5 today.
I mean, he's got a similar body if you look at him. Isn't he like 6'3"?
Yeah,
He's a bigger guy.
6'2", I think. But I mean, Chase makes a point, but in some ways, I think the arms have to come from everywhere. You have to keep developing arms and signing arms. I mean, it's baseball. You're always going to need more arms. I don't know if signing bats is the way to go. I think drafting and developing bats is the way to go.
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they drafted and developed Buster. They drafted and developed Crawford. They drafted and developed Pablo. They drafted and developed Belt. This is when they won 3 World Series. I really think that you're not going to be able to sign free agent hitters because they're always going to look at the ballpark, and the ballpark's a huge negative. So you're always going to have to overpay. So you're either going to have to trade and develop an incredible arsenal of pitching and trade for hitters.
Right.
But if you look at it, teams are more reluctant to trade position player talent than ever. So I would say you gotta draft and develop your own Bobby Witt Jr. You gotta find your own position players. Signing bats, you're gonna get some decent bats, but they got Chapman because of Melvin. Soler has a lot of, there's a lot of people that don't like the Soler, type bat because he strikes out a lot. I think if you're really going to build your team for the future and have a World Series team that could run with LA, you've got to find 4 or 5 position players in the amateur draft them, develop them, bring them to the big leagues, and have them succeed. I think that's probably the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Bobby Witt Jr. Who has been the top? You think about the top guys in the draft the last 6-7 years, and the Giants were unfortunate, I guess, in 2018 to be drafting second in a year that wasn't that great. Casey Mize went first to Detroit. Then the Giants selected Joey Bart. And I don't know, can you pull up that draft, Eric, the top 10 draft of 2018?
2018 baseball draft?
Yeah, pull that up. Just, but, you look at other guys that have come across the future years, guys like Jackson Holliday and Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt Jr. And all these guys are stars in the Giants land Joey Bart. And I mean, it's like, I can't remember that draft in 18. Was Alex Bone in that draft?
About to find out.
Alec Bone?
Yep.
Is that
the 3rd pick?
Okay. Not a great draft. Jonathan India, Colletti.
Jonathan India is a good player.
He's a good player, but yeah, I mean, he's not a bad hitter, but it wasn't a knockdown.
Kyler, Travis Swaggerty, I think, is already not on the Pirates anymore.
Grayson Rodriguez, he's one of their good starters for Baltimore.
Yeah.
But where's
Logan Gilbert, great pitcher for the Mariners.
Yeah.
Where's the position player talent?
Oh, Libator went to high school right down the street from me here in Arizona.
A lot of people like Nolan Gorman.
Brady Singer's not bad for Kansas City. He's got some.
Larnack is.
Nico
Is not-
Horner,
I mean, it just kind of
Matt
shows how
McLean.
difficult it is.
Tristan
Tristan
Cassis.
Cassis,
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no big time
Bo
guys.
Naylor.
there.
Not Bo.
It wasn't a huge draft. I mean, probably the best player go up to the top again was probably. I mean, Cassis looks like he'd be pretty good, but Bone is in India.
India's probably the best.
You know,
Right? Isn't he have power
Yeah.
and he plays second? But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the amateur draft is hit and miss. You got to
It
be
is.
really good at it. And it's funny. I always, no, I've been so big on Giants prospects for so long that I've now got, I've got the battle scars. So it's like every one of the old prospects is bad, but we're supposed to believe that the next hyped prospect like this Eldridge is going to be awesome. You know what I mean? It's like how many times can you swing and miss in the amateur draft before the next guy that's coming down the pike, we're not so enthralled by it. It's like we fall for the banana in the tailpipe every single time. It's like, this guy's going to be great. Jerome Williams is going to be great. Jesse Foppert was on the cover of Baseball America. Kurt Ainsworth was going to be great. Gary Brown was going to be fantastic.
Christian
you name
Arroyo.
it. Christian Arroyo, Tony Torquato. I mean, it's like Rickard Finida. Somebody says there's been so many guys, and it's like, okay, they've all failed, and the Giants haven't developed a big time outfielder since Chili Davis, and yet Bryce Eldridge gets picked, and it's like everybody's like, well, Bryce Eldridge is going to be awesome. Well, why? Every single other Giants hitting prospect for the last 25 years has been shit, but this guy's now going to be awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like I've lost my enthusiasm for the Bryce Eldridges of the world and the Reggie Crawfords of the world because I've seen Giants prospects under multiple different regimes, and they just crap out. They'll have big years in the Cal League. Sometimes they'll have big years in AA, but when it gets to AAA or the majors, it's like these guys are all just not any good. So I love the enthusiasm, but there's no real reason that Bryce Eldridge should be good. When you're looking at what the Giants' track record is of drafting, hitting prospects in the out of the amateur draft, he might be good, but if he is, he will be the exception, not the rule. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Hey, what? I don't know how much longer you guys want to go. It's been a couple hours, I think. I mean, we got.
Yeah, I got to jump because I've got a morning stream.
Yeah, I got to ask you a question, Larry. This is not baseball related. You got a. I don't want to literally, but you got a gun to your head here. What's going to happen with Aiyuk? Is he going to get traded, or the Niners going to sign him?
I think he's going to get traded. And here's why. The 49ers are on the verge of owing their quarterback almost 50 times what they're paying him right now.
Right.
50 times. He's making $1 million. He's going to be making close to $50 million. That means $50 million worth of players are going to have to come off their cap in the next year or so. So I don't think they want to spend, $60 million a year on receivers. So the story today that they're interested in Tyler Boyd and that they, may trade Aiyuk. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Niners
Tyler
are smart.
Boyd with the Bengals receiver?
Yeah, the Bengals receiver. They're interested in him, but they're also maybe talking about drafting a receiver. I just think that they're going to look at, they're so far apart on numbers. They're saying all the right things, but they're also, I think, preparing for a pivot. And I think that they're going to wait until draft day. And my guess is that they're going to get a mid-first round pick offer, which is a very high offer for Aiyuk. And I think they're going to sign a Tyler Boyd type receiver and draft somebody else and go down that road.
Are they better off letting Aiyuk just play out the 5th year and then franchise tag him for the 6th year and let Debo walk? Because after next year, Debo's cap hit's not that bad.
It's funny, we're talking about this, and there's lots of different options they can do, but I actually think they're going to have to do both. I think they're going to have to wind up trading off of Aiyuk and letting Debo walk at the end of the year. People are talking about like if it's an either or situation, but I think it's going to be, both.
Wow. Yeah, because they're going to definitely have to draft some receivers. I mean, it would be great if somehow they can, the talk is what, Pittsburgh at 20, and then move up from there. Get 20 and then maybe get Malik Neighbors or
well, I don't think you can get him at 20, but I mean,
no,
you
have to move up. You'd have to move up to top 10 probably, right?
Yeah,
About
and
10,
I don't know
12.
that Ayuk's going to fetch that, but I think Aiyuk might fetch like a 20th pick or a 17th pick or something like that.
Right.
And you might be able to get an
Maybe you get
offensive
the
tackle. You
there
might
and
be
then
able to
take the
get another
receiver at 31.
So if you said they're going to have to get creative with their cap, and they want to say all the right things. It does nobody any service to run your players down in the media. So you say, hey, we love the guy. He's an essential part of what we do. And then when push comes to shove, when the negotiations get really, really tough, I think you say, hey, we just couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going to do. I really do.
Well, good. Well, I guess I'll be seeing. We're on for Friday night, right after Warriors, and we're doing the.
Yeah, we'll do a little Friday night stream.
Yeah,
maybe a little everything.
I think we got Brian Katz again and my brother.
Yeah.
Set up and Rye and Red.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be great. Hey, everybody. I know most people here watching are probably on Larry's channel. If you're new to NorCal Sports, Larry and I are teaming up here tonight on both channels. If you want to if you're a Giants fan, I'm doing Eric and I've got a couple other guys, Los D and Bora at times, and we also bring in Marty Lurie occasionally, and Ned will join us, and we've had some actual Giants players coming up. I've reached out to the Baltimore Orioles to have their director of player development join us. It's my best friend growing up. His son has gotten the job this year as director of player development for the Orioles, and he should be joining us. The Orioles, we should be connecting on that. So we do a lot of baseball coverage, probably more than anybody out there on YouTube. We do in-depth Giants coverage. So join NorCal Sports Network if you would. I appreciate Larry.
Absolutely. Everybody who's a member of the Krug Show, sign up over here on Danny's channel. He does a lot of great baseball stuff. Yeah, if you sign up, it's free. You get an alert every time he goes live, and let's get Dan to 20,000 subs by the end of the season.
And NorCal Sports Network, yeah, it's right there at the top. You see it up there. Appreciate you, Larry. It's always great to have you on, and
we got one last super here from Nick.
Yep, there he is. Yeah. Nick.
Am I the only Giants fan tired of getting smacked around by the Dodgers? Everyone else is so excited for 84 wins and a Manfred wild card. What a joke. Get serious. I'm with you, Nick. I'm with you, but you got to walk before you can run.
Yep.
All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow night after the Giants-Dodgers game, probably about 9:45 to 10:15 range. Sign up, NorCal Sports Network. You'll get the alert when we go live, and we're here after every Giants ball game. For Larry Krueger and Eric, Dan Cucimilio saying have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks, everybody.